Feraferia, meaning wild celebration in Latin, grew its roots in Southern California in 1967. The founder of this religion had a background on religious movements, as he had already founded one group, Hesperides. The founder, Frank Adams, was enwrapped with ideas of the goddess and was greatly influenced by writings of Robert Graves, a British writer and poet who published a book called The White Goddess, a book of myths. Feraferia was also co-founded by Adams' partner, Svetlana, who greatly encouraged Adams to pursue these foundations. Through Adams' experiences in the scenes and his ideas, Feraferia was founded on the ideals of being a religion based off of Mother Earth. In a direct quote from the group's homepage, they define themselves as a culture built from love and wilderness, an embodiment of holy wildness, and a religion celebrating the Magic Maiden. The Magic Maiden, going by many names, Aphrodite, Kor, Isis, the Divine. Regardless of her name, the goddess is seen as the core to the universe and the complete embodiment of the collective. Currently, there are over 1,500 members in this neo-pagan religion, residing in the United States and the Netherlands. Feraferia is considered a religion based off of the main premise of its foundings, which was the revelation that Adams received from a divine source. In a quote written by Joe Carson, a primary member of the group who performed an extensive interview with Adams and his partner Svetlana, she writes of an origin story. His attention was drawn to the pit of his stomach, around the solar plexus chakra. There, Adams was convinced he felt the presence of divine energy. Instantaneously, he became aware that God was a woman, and that the source of all beings rested in the sacred feminine. Feraferia, like other new religious movements, was a response to the society at the time. The foundations of both religious groups founded by Adams came in the middle of the Vietnam War, a war which divided the country and received an uproar of public criticism in response. Feraferia mirrored certain ideals and characteristics of the hippie movement that had already founded many communes and rogue living communities, also pushing for a return to nature. Feraferia fits the classification of a religion as it has an organized set of beliefs and a belief in the higher and supernatural beings that either dwell here on earth, such as the Fae, or dwell in other dimensions, such as the divine goddess. Adams, when he was founding the religion, created many ceremonies and rituals that have been performed daily, weekly, or annually, all depending upon their significance. Borrowing from the Celtic cycle and the year of the pagan traditions, many of these rituals revolve around the natural solar cycle. Adams founded Feraferia with the premise of creating a society that turned away from the mainstream and instead put its focus and attention into a utopian-esque vision of an earth-centered worship. In this sense, Feraferia fits into Wallace's classification of a revitalist movement, in that it calls the community to action and pushes for an upheaval of old beliefs and the adoption of a certain ideal. This group was founded during an era of great social and political unrest that welcomed in Adams' idea that there was to be a great rebirth, as the world would usher in a new religion that called for a return to the earth. Like many revitalist movements, as classified by Wallace, the tension of the times and the foretelling of some grand occurrence lends Feraferia to be classified as such. As this religion was based off of ideals of creating a loving community, so much so that those who continue to practice this religion participate in the many forums and Facebook groups. Members are encouraged to gather and perform certain rituals. Feraferia is meant to be experienced and practiced in a community setting, as some celebrations, such as the solstice dance, cannot be executed alone. Sacred spaces are normally found outdoors, such as shrines called hedges, which ground you, and shrines and homes that honor the elements and the goddess. Items such as the golden bell, shrines of Kor, a mortar and pestle, and certain objects from nature are used predominantly in these rituals. The belief and characteristics of the sacred and the secular, as well as the importance of community that form an in-group, more resemble Durkheim's definition of a religion, where community and congregation is the forefront, forming a collective identity through practices and sacred objects. There are many myths, publications, and articles written by Adams and others that can be found on the main website of Feraferia that give great detail into the background, core beliefs, and how to perform certain rituals. So although not pushing for conformity as much as many other religions may, these extensive readings and detailed directions do strongly encourage those who practice to take part and observe these cycles. The group, guided by a multitude of readings and teachings, are primarily focused in by the manifesto written by the founder, Frederick Adams. These primary guides resemble more mainstream religions such as Catholicism, that has the Bible, or Muslim with the Quran. This piece was called The Hesperian Life and the Maiden Way, which had elements borrowed from many pagan, Celtic, and Greek beliefs, all of which Adams observed and adopted to form his own group identity. This group is compelling, as it is one of the oldest neo-pagan religions and was formed in an era of great strife and unrest in society. It offers a worldview that revolves around the sacredness of one's very own world, creating this concept of heaven on earth, with the idea that not only is the earth itself an entity and sacred, but that we are surrounded by the supernatural beings who we share the world with and the cosmos with. This religion appeals to many as it's a religion that dismisses mainstream society and creates an image of peace and unity. Feraferia is also a rather flexible religion that can either be fully practiced or incorporated into an independent view. With this religion heavily based off of the earth-centered religions and Greek myths, it's a religion that encourages free interpretation and exploration. New religious movements can often be classified as cults, a stigmatized term that normally is given to radical movements. Feraferia possesses no such beliefs nor attitudes towards society that would lend itself to being categorized as such. Instead, it is simply an accumulation of older religions that have been remodeled and repackaged to fit a certain group and function. Wicca, possibly one of the most prevalent pagan religions that Feraferia borrows heavily from, has a main creed of, "If it harm none, do what you will," which is an attitude Feraferia tends to embody.